Welcome back to my channel. I have some notes here, so I'm just gonna curl up here. Have you ever felt like I'm like super cold today? Have you ever felt like you just need to like curl up with a nice little blankie and stuff? So about, gosh, this is so long ago because I'm in my 50s, and this was, I'm gonna tell you my story about why I ended up having a hysterectomy about it's been 2 years now? I think it's been 2 years now, almost 2 years. And everybody has their hysterectomy story. Mine's a little bit different because for all the people who have had a hysterectomy from cancer or things like that, God bless you. God bless you. Because that is something I did not have to go through, but is something that I actually was tested and went through all of those scary moments and stuff. So I just, and I've had friends and stuff that have gone through that. And that's why they've had a hysterectomy, but that's not my story. So when I was probably like 33, and this is going to be really TMI, so I'm going to tell you up front, TMI. When I was like 33, I maybe even 32, I actually started having some really heavy periods. So my menstrual cycle was crazy, and I had to wear 2 or 3 pads just to not like get spotting or go out of, you know, have accidents. You know what I mean, girls, you know. And I would have to change like every 30 minutes. It was really, really devastating. Okay. I went to my OBGYN, and they put me on, like, birth control, which I had already had my tubes tied. So just so you know that, I had already had my tubes tied. I had 3 kids. I was done, had my tubes tied. But they put me on birth control to try to manage my periods. And it was, like, this thing where you had a period every 3 months. I wasn't good at taking pills, but I did it. And so anyway, I was doing that, but I was still having like super heavy cycles, even on this really heavy birth control option. So they said, well, go to your general practitioner and see what's going on. Could be something else. So I went there because I thought maybe something else was going on that was affecting my whole body. And so then I did, and they said, well, there's nothing really wrong with you. We can't really find anything wrong with you. And I said, okay, great. Maybe I just need to be on this pills for a little while. Okay, so year into the pills, I'm still feeling really bad. Now at this time, I'm also attending school. So I'm taking classes, and I noticed one day that this was a new class, first day class, it was upstairs, and I went to climb the stairs. Now I walked literally every morning and never had an issue. Like I would walk my 2 miles every morning, no issues, nothing at all. I walked these stairs, I got about halfway up, and I literally was having chest pains, not feeling well. I was going crazy. I started taking the elevator, which was really, like, I just couldn't believe I was doing this. I was in my 30s, I'd always been a really good walker, climbing, hiking, whatever. Never had issues. A lot smaller than I am now, which, gosh, then he even thought I was heavy, and now I kick myself because I was like, I was in pretty good shape. So I go to another doctor, and I said, okay, please, I'm having chest pains, I like that. He's like, all right, well, let's send you, your blood pressure's a little high, probably from stress, And I said, okay, go to the other doctor, which is a cardiologist. So I said, well, I'm going to go to a cardiologist. I'm going to go to the one my mom and my father, who had already passed away, saw. And now I was getting really upset because my father died from heart disease. So what ended up happening was he put me on a stress test. I did the treadmill test. I'm like in my 30s. I walk a lot. Don't really run, but I walk a lot. And I'm like, I should be fine. No, I failed. So he then scheduled an angiogram and said, because of your history, because of your father, we're going to do an angiogram. Did an angiogram. I apparently had no blockage, but the medicine that they gives you that makes you relax and just kind of de-stress and stuff like that, apparently I didn't have that option because he said, calm down. And I said, I feel calm down. He goes, you're not. Your blood pressure is really high. And I said, I'm calm. And he's like, no, your blood pressure is really high. So my husband went out and apparently told my husband at the time, she's stressed out. I don't know what's going on at home. I don't know what's going on physically with her. She's so stressed out. She doesn't have a blockage, but her blood pressure is so high for someone in her 30s. That's ridiculous. We're going to put her on high blood pressure meds. So in my 30s, I went on high blood pressure medication. So for me, I was like, I'm overweight. I just need to diet, cut out fast foods, blah, blah, blah. Which in your 30s, you still feel a little invincible. So I was like, screw it. Anyway, so I was like, upset about it. I was like, to me, I associate with heart disease with just dying because I watched my father all my life deal with heart attacks and things like that. I knew how to dial. We didn't have 911 when I was a child, but I knew how to dial the police and the ambulance and stuff when I was very young, first grade, for kindergarten. And so I'd always associated that. And then, of course, he died when I was 17. So I'm like, what is going to happen? And I got a little scared, but still not enough to really shake me, which it should have. But I was still, so now I'm focused on my heart, feeling like I'm going to die, right? And of course I'm not. It's all in my head, which is making my blood pressure even worse. And then I had a lot of stress at home, not going to lie, a lot of freaking stress at home. And so then I go to another doctor, and he tells me I'm crying because I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I can't climb a flight of stairs. I'm now on high blood pressure pills. I'm still having heavy periods. I don't even know what's going on. Let's figure. And he's just like, you're depressed. I'm like, seriously? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you're like, I'm crying. Of course I'm upset. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. So he gives me depression medication. Of course, at this time, so I don't know how many years ago, they were giving it out a lot. It was like the go-to pills. And so I was like, I can't take them. I just can't. And I was like, maybe I should. Maybe it's something else that's wrong with me. And someone else maybe it's your hormone, maybe this, maybe that. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm going through early menopause. I don't know. So I go back to my OBGYN, and he's like, yeah, it's still not working. I don't really know what's going on. So he thought, well, maybe we can try something else. He goes, the next option for you is literally to do a procedure called endometrial ablation, which is when they go in. Basically, this is how he explained it to me. He says, you have grass growing in your uterus, like grass, fibers, and then we go in and we mow it. Every month when your menstrual cycle happens, you're mowing it. Well, he said, basically what he does is he takes out all the grass. Kind of makes sense. I mean, that's a good analogy, right? And so I said, okay, well, that sounds good, and that'll take care of that, and then maybe I can figure out everything else later. Nope. I guess the doctors don't really... I really wished I would have told them to communicate with one another, and looking back, I probably should have. But it ended up being that my menstrual cycle had a lot to do with what was dealing with my heart. So here's what happens. I'm crying, don't know what to do. I'd seen two different doctors that tried to prescribe me depression medication. I'm telling my friend, and she goes, go to my doctor. Try him. He's really good. And I said, okay. I said, what is it going to hurt? I go, he says, order some labs. Great. Ordered some labs. I am at work. And I had worked I was actually working at a nonprofit at the time. I was working 2 jobs, but nonprofit. And so he called, and it's a job that I could literally like leave anytime if I wanted to. It wasn't like I had a set schedule or anything. And so he calls, or the nurse calls, and she's like, Dina, how are you? And I said, oh, great. She goes, we got your labs. And I said, okay, great. She goes, can you come in right away? And I said, well, I'm about an hour away. Do you need me to come right now? She goes, yeah, we really do. And I said, is this serious? She goes, well, the doctor would like to see you right away. We got your labs. And I'm like, freaking out in my head, but I'm like, okay. And I said, I can be there in about an hour. So I'm like thinking, what the heck? So I call my other job, which I had later on in the evening time. I had a part-time job in the evening. I worked a lot. And so I said, hey, I may be late. I have to go to the doctor. Doctor wants me to come in. She's like, all right. So then I go to the doctor, and they go, oh, you're here. Come on in. And they sit me down. They like take me from the waiting room. Didn't even let me sit down. Took me into a room. They said, we have a room here for you. They sat me down. I'm just like, okay, what the hell's going on? And they were like, are you feeling okay? And I'm like, I feel okay. And they said, you're having chest pain? They're like, no. I go, my blood pressure's probably high because you guys are freaking me out. And they're like, well, okay, so the doctor's going to come in and talk to you about your labs. And I said, okay. So he comes into the room, and he goes, how are you feeling? Are you okay? And I said, yeah, but what you're going to tell me is kind of like I'm freaking out a little bit right now. I'm just freaking out. And he goes, well, he said, you are so anemic that you're like a walking zombie. He goes, and my feeling is that your anemia has stressed your heart out because you have no oxygen literally running through your body. That's kind of how he explained it. I'm sure there's more technical stuff in all that. But anyway, he was like, this is very serious. You're going to have to go to the hospital. So I'm like, for what? And he's like, you need to have platelets or like a blood transfusion, but something. You need to have something put in you. So you'll probably be in there a couple days, just so you know. And I said, oh my gosh. So at the time, I was going to school, working 2 jobs. It was kind of crazy. But I was like, you know what? I got to be around. You know, I have little ones. And so anyway, so I asked him, is there an option to kind of go to the hospital now, be released, and then go back to the hospital and get more treatment? And he did allow me to kind of do that. And so I went to the hospital. You know, I called everybody, and then not everybody, not a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know about this. And went to the hospital, did that, and then I still felt okay. I don't even know how I made it, but anyway, I did all what he told me to do. But for about 6 months, and I'm not kidding you, 6 months, 3 times a week, so it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I would go in to the office, and they would give me an iron injection in my hip. And it was for like 6 months. And well, it was like for 4 months, 3 times a week. And then the last couple months, it was like 2 times a week. It kind of got less towards the end. But I finally got, well, you won't believe this, I finally got to what's called an 8. Now, originally I started as a 2. So if you look at your labs, you have numbers and all that. Anyway, I was like a 2. And so I finally got to an 8. Which I was so excited about. I still am not normal. I've always been somewhat anemic. And so, but I never put it all together. Never felt like that. Anyway, I literally messed myself up so bad because of that. I've had issues ever since. What they found out, what they put it all together, is they realized that my heavy menstrual cycles were most likely the cause of my anemia. Nobody figured that one out. That's how bad I was. And so while I ended up having after they figured out my blood stuff and they got me all on a schedule, I was finally, because I couldn't even do a surgery because of all that. And so I ended up having, I told my LBGYN, hey, they figured out what it is. I'm anemic, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, well, wait until you get to a good, like, level. And then we did the surgery. Yay. Did the surgery. That worked out. I have never still been normal, okay? Never on my blood panel. Never. I probably never will. I'll always remain between like an 8 and a 9. I think the number is like 10 or 11 or something, but I'm good. I'm good. I feel good. But then what happened is apparently that surgery that helped me for so long, and basically you don't have a cycle. It's like it's gone. It's like it doesn't happen. Like if you do, it's like very little. TMI, all I had to wear was a little liner, like a little panty liner. And it lasted for like 18 hours or something. I mean, it was crazy. But it was like a lifesaver. I felt like I actually got my life back. Because if you've ever dealt with heavy menstrual cycles, oh my God, you literally can't leave the house. You're like in your house because you're afraid that something is going to happen. You're going to have an accident. You're not going to be able to get to a bathroom, everything. So it is literally like it takes you out. And I just didn't put it all together between my heart stuff and my cycles and anemia and all that. I just like, it's not my job to do that, right? It's their job. So, but literally what pissed me off, and I'll tell you this, what really pissed me off is those 2 freaking doctors that told me, oh, you're depressed. So, anyway, the endometrial ablation surgery happened. So finally we get to the hysterectomy. Took me a while to get here, right? So apparently that surgery does not last forever. Go figure. And so, and all of that stuff was like, all of that time frame was literally 2.5 to almost 3 years. It took that long to get me like diagnosed. So I actually didn't have the surgery until I was like 35. So apparently the surgery only lasts from anywhere from 10 to 12 years. And so I was coming up on about that time frame. And actually I went a little longer. And I was like, I'm starting to get a cycle again. This is not good. So I ended up going to a doctor and giving my history and saying, I do not want to be sick anymore. I do not want to get sick. I don't want my heart to fail. I want to have oxygen in my blood. And so I knew ending up having a heavy menstrual cycle was going to like do me in. And so I didn't want that to happen again. So what I ended up doing, so he recommended having the hysterectomy. He said it really isn't a good idea to do the endometrial ablation again. It's not really recommended to do it a second time. I could, because I'd probably go into menopause by the time it wore out. He said, but because I was like almost 50, and he said it just was not worth it. So I planned it out with work in my mind, like when I could do it, when would be the best time. And it was like kind of a crazy time at work. It ended up being that my supervisor had left the place I was working at literally 4 weeks before I was scheduled for my surgery, that I would be out for like 6 weeks. And I was like, there's nothing I could do. I ended up only being out for 4 weeks. So it was actually not bad. And my surgery went really well. My story is actually, all of that was the crazy part of leading up to getting a hysterectomy. In the end, looking back, I kind of wish I had just done the hysterectomy when I was 35. I probably should have. I think I was hesitant just because I was, still young and scared. I knew I wasn't going to have any more children, but I think the whole throwing me into menopause, early menopause and things like that. So anyway, And gosh, you know what? I should have known a lot of this because I had always known I was somewhat like anemic. Like I always had to take iron and I always had to deal with stuff like that. And I'm a very cold person. If it's cold. Now I'm going through menopause, so lovely hot flashes. Now I know what people are with like really hot. I used to sweat a lot too when I was younger, and I don't sweat anymore, so I don't know what all that's about. Anyway, maybe someone can tell me. Hey, that was a lot of information. So I was editing this video and I realized I didn't finish it out. If you like this video, give it a little like. And if you'd want to see more interesting information about my life, cruising, budgeting, all those wonderful things, subscribe. Take care and have a great day.